Hello, everybody. Welcome to another breaking news live stream coming off Super Bowl 59. And as we say, the Eagles defeat the Chiefs 40-22 to win Super Bowl 59. Now, this was not the best of any Super Bowls that we've ever watched. But this was not a great game by any means. And I'm sure a lot of people probably saying after the first half, including myself, that this game was over. And it was over after the first half. I don't want to hear anything that this game was not over after the first half. The Chiefs came out just mentally and physically not prepared to play in Super Bowl 59. I don't know what happened before the game. I don't know what happened in training and preparation all week, but the Chiefs were they laid an egg. They looked awful. And I don't know why. Like, it's almost like they didn't want to be out on the field and play. It just looked like they gave up. And Mahomes just looked terrible out there. I don't know what happened to him. Now, I do want to point out something that the Chiefs, their record of 15-2 doesn't say the way that they played all year. And they won way more single possession games than any other team in the NFL this year. And that is the interesting part. And so a lot of it got skewed, and the score was really way worse than it was by the time we got to the end of it. And it was just, the game stunk. Like, the game was just absolutely awful. Congratulations to Eagles fans who earned this game fair and square. Absolutely. They were ready to go as soon as the ball was punted away, and they were ready to play. Unlike the team on the other side. They just came out and said, you know what? We're going to punch Patrick Mahomes in the mouth offensively. And we are not going to let them take us over. We're just not. So, just looking at the game physically, the Eagles defense just came out and just was ready to play. Just ready to play. And when I look at the game cast of the box score, okay, Mahomes just did not have it. Okay? Did not have it. He threw 2 interceptions, got sacked 6 times. It just looked like he was not comfortable in the pocket when being out there. And the Philadelphia pass rush was all over Mahomes, giving him no time to throw the football. Now, I'm not saying this. I am not a Chiefs fan. I'm not an Eagles fan. I am a Jet fan. So I am just a spectator in this game. But I have to say right off the top, when the Chiefs got that offensive pass interference call on the A.J. Brown catch, Twitter or X, whatever you want to refer to it, went absolutely batshit insane, crazy, when the Chiefs got the first call out of the gate, which, by the way, was a offensive pass interference. Okay? The call was 100% right. And if you want to comment in the comments that you disagree with me, go ahead. But clearly, A.J. Brown's hand was in the face mask of the Chiefs defender. But after that, the Chiefs just gave up. They were out to lunch. And I don't blame them, because New Orleans food is supposed to be really good. But I don't understand what happened to the Chiefs offense. Now, Mahomes turned the football over, I think, 2 or 3 times within the 20 when they could have scored. But Jalen Hurts, who we've all had questions for, and had a lot of questions to say, can he get the Eagles over the hunch or over the wall? Could Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, get the Eagles over the hump to finally win a Super Bowl? And finally, it happens. Now, 2 years ago, when these two teams played each other, different story. Chiefs win. And we're talking about two completely different teams. And just looking at the way this game happened. And by the way, Jalen Hurts was announced as the MVP of the Super Bowl, which makes total sense, by the way. And this guy earned everything. So Jalen Hurts was a big deal in this game. But at the same time, the Eagles defense put Patrick Mahomes and the offense under more pressure than the Chiefs have seen all year. Okay? Patrick Mahomes couldn't breathe holding the football. And that's the scary part. The Eagles, even though the Chiefs were a number one defense for most of the year, the Eagles defense is scary. Scary. And they just totally made the Chiefs fall apart. And when you look at some of the box scores for the Chiefs offense, it's just not there. Kareem Hunt, 3 carries for 9 yards. Samaje Perine, 1 carry for 8 yards. Pacheco, 3 carries for 7 yards. So that's a total of 7 carries for 24 yards from the rushing attack, which was non-existent. Okay? And then you just look at the rest of the offense. Xavier Worthy was the offense for the Chiefs. 8 receptions, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. After that, the whole rest of the offense was shut down and silent. Silent. Nowhere to be found. And Travis Kelce came up smaller than Mini-Me in this game. Nowhere to be found. And it was kind of nice that I didn't have to watch Taylor Swift a million times on my screen during Super Bowl 59, because that would have just been a headache, and I just didn't want to hear all the Taylor Swift references. So I was kind of glad, I guess, for one thing, that the Chiefs didn't 100% do well, so I didn't have to see all the Taylor Swift references and all that nonsense and garbage. But Patrick Mahomes just looked uncomfortable. And it did him in. And you look at the other side of the ball. You look at the Eagles. Jalen Hurts had the most rushing yards. 11 carries for 72 yards. Saquon Barkley, who everyone said was going to need to have a huge game, had 25 carries for 57 yards. That's it. Saquon didn't have a great game. But everybody else pitched in. Devonta Smith had a touchdown. A.J. Brown had a touchdown. Everybody touched the football. So it was a balanced offensive attack. Excuse me. It was a balanced offensive attack, which led to the Eagles both offensively and defensively. Just led them to the effort necessary to win this game and to prove that they were the team that was destined to win the game. There's a lot of opinions going around that this could be the worst Super Bowl watched in decades. I agree. This game was over, like I said, after the second half. There was no way. And a lot of my ETB Network colleagues were saying, Nick, you're overreacting. You're too quick. I said, guys, the Chiefs don't have it. They just don't. They were trailing 24-0 at the half. When's the last time you saw Patrick Mahomes go scoreless in the first half? I don't think he has. And the Eagles, and by the way, Nick Sirianni doesn't need an extra chip on his shoulder for extra momentum to win this game. He had plenty of momentum and plenty on his side to have the effort necessary to win the game. So there was no extra effort needed or necessary to push Nick Sirianni, to push the Eagles, to push his team to go all the way. And like I said, it was a little bit of irony watching this game because the Eagles were the ones getting all the calls in the game. Okay? And by the way, they missed a pass interference call. Not pass interference, excuse me, a roughing call. So they called a 15-yard unsportsmanlike because they claim it was after Mahomes dropped the football. That looked like a roughing the passer to me. I understand the game was out of reach. Excuse me. But it looked like the Eagles were getting more of the calls. So here's the deal, everybody. I don't want to hear tomorrow that the Chiefs were the ones that get the calls all the time. All right? The Eagles were the ones getting the calls most of the time in this game. They played well. I am not taking this away from the Eagles. The Eagles won this game fair and square. Fair and square. They dominated offensively and defensively. I don't think the Chiefs did anything right tonight, to be quite honest. And if you look at the score, 40-22, that looks a lot closer than what the score, or the game looked way more out of reach than the score anticipates. Okay? And by the way, it was kind of cool at the end with about 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter that they dumped the Gatorade bath. And by the way, if you had green, yellow, lime as your Gatorade prop, congratulations, you won. If you do those novelty prop bets. And that was kind of a cool moment for Nick Sirianni, who, again, was being questioned and was under a lot of pressure. And he really needed... I said this on Football Forecast when we did our live Super Bowl stream yesterday, that he needed to win this game to cement a legacy. Or not really cement a legacy, but he needed to win because this team was in a win-now type of mode. And they really needed to win this game. And I'm not saying that I would have been totally fine, by the way, if the Chiefs won and had a three-peat. I'm not like most of the idiotic NFL fans who have an issue with whether the Chiefs won the Super Bowl 3 times in a row. Okay? I don't care about that. Am I happy for the Eagles? You have to remember, I'm in New York. I'm a Jet fan. So, like, I don't like the Eagles. I don't like the Eagles fan base. But they deserve all the credit. They played well. And that is what is most important. And Front Office Sports actually put out something here as well. So, Saquon Barkley, 3-time Pro Bowler, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, $3 million in regular season bonuses, $500,000 in postseason incentives, first-time Super Bowl champion, NFL record for most rushing yards in a season. You think Saquon is happy that he left the New York Giants and is now with the Philadelphia Eagles? So, Saquon is riding this all the way to the bank, all the way to a Super Bowl ring, and he can laugh looking back at the New York Giants, who basically said, we don't want you anymore. Okay? So, be happy for Saquon Barkley, who finally won a Super Bowl ring. Be happy for Jalen Hurts, who had a lot of questions associated with him. And be happy for the Eagles. Because it is hard to win a Super Bowl. Let's be real. Tom Brady has 7 rings. It's hard. He went 10 years between winning Super Bowl rings. Okay? It's not easy. It's really not easy. And to beat a guy like Patrick Mahomes, to avoid the three-peat, which, by the way, do you think Pat Riley is crying right now because he probably, I think there was reports that he had a deal with the NFL to license because he owns the trademark to three-peat? You think he's kind of upset? I think so. And it's just funny seeing a lot of the comments on social media. And it's just one of those things where you're just like, all right, it is what it is. It would have been cool to see the Chiefs win 3 in a row, but I'm not salty like that. Again, I'm not a Chiefs fan and I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm a Jet fan. Okay? So either one of these teams winning has no effect on me the way this goes. But be happy for the Eagles fans, okay? Give them some credit. They deserve it. And Jalen Hurts deserves all the credit in the world for being an MVP. And by the way, if you're just wondering, for a little bit of note for next season for the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles will open the 2025 NFL season at home on Thursday night. Who will they face? And here are the options: Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, Bears, Lions, Raiders, Rams, Broncos. Can we get the Lions versus the Eagles on Thursday night in an open? That would be incredible. Just throwing that out there. This was an interesting season. Super Bowl was kind of a bust. Didn't get the best of games. And it was kind of a blowout, like I said, after the first half. But it is what it is, and the Eagles win. The other things just to talk about, the Apple Music halftime show was a bust. An absolute fucking bust. Okay? Kendrick Lamar didn't really do much to excite the crowd. It also looked like the NFL or Apple Music didn't really spend a lot of money into the production of the halftime show. And it was boring. It was really boring. It was, as the kids would say, it's mid. It was mid. It was awful. Anyone who's watching now, give me your comments on that. What your thoughts were on the Apple Music halftime show. It was also weird because, and I didn't recognize it at first when I was watching, but SZA was on the stage with Kendrick Lamar, and I didn't recognize it right away. She's big time. She's had quite a few big hits, but I didn't recognize her. And then the wild card, the one I didn't recognize, I thought I recognized, and then I had to go look it up. Serena Williams was dancing on the stage during the halftime show. And that one kind of confused me. And I was just like, really? That, like, she's part of the halftime show? I guess her and Kendrick are friends, maybe? But that was like the biggest waste of 15 to 20 minutes ever. And they could have done so much better with that halftime show. Seriously. It was just a dud. And they didn't even try. Like, all the songs sounded the same during the halftime show. And they could have picked so many better people to do this with. Like, they could have. Like, I have no idea. But as we put a bow on the 2024-25 season, and we look forward to the 25-26 season as we head into the off season. Now comes the work for all of these teams. And the Eagles don't have to retool too much. But now it's the Eagles' turn to try to get up there and repeat, if possible. and see if they could do it again. I'm not saying they will, but you certainly have to put them up there as a heavy favorite to possibly repeat again. You never know. It would be interesting to see them repeat again with Jalen Hurts. But the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes need to retool in a serious way. They need to fix up their situation. They need to fix their offensive line, number one. Because Patrick Mahomes got dropped 6 times. 6 times! You can't win a Super Bowl if your quarterback's getting dropped 6 times. Just won't happen. And by the way, I left this out too. Patrick Mahomes had 25 rushing yards. More than anybody combined on the Chiefs for rushing yards. Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine, and Pacheco had 24 combined yards in 7 runs. It took 4 carries for Mahomes to get 25. Okay? So, the Chiefs were a dumpster fire. They just were not ready. Who knows if it was the pressure that got to them? Who knows if it's fatigue of going to the 3rd straight Super Bowl? Who knows what it was? I just don't think they were ready to play. They weren't. They were not ready to play. And it killed them in the long run. According to Adam Schefter, the Eagles' win over the Chiefs is the first Super Bowl rematch where the coach who won the initial meeting did not win the rematch, which is interesting. And it's also interesting to see the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid on the losing side. So we'll see what happens. Tough day for the Kansas City Chiefs. Amazing day for the Eagles. Amazing day for Nick Sirianni. And incredible. You can't take this one away from the Eagles. Now, are Giants fans, Cowboys fans, are they going to be mad? Probably. But they earned it. They really earned it. And Jalen Hurts is continuing to talk to doubters because they thought that Jalen Hurts would never get back. Well, Jalen Hurts proved all those doubters right. And you know what? I could say I was one of those too. Because I'm not the biggest Jalen Hurts fan. There's a lot of quirks in his game that you wouldn't think of really is in the qualities of a leader. I just don't see it that way. But you know what? Sometimes the quirkiest of games works to win a Super Bowl. Go ask Nick Foles, the last guy who won a Super Bowl for the Eagles, how that went. The guy, Nick Foles will never have to pay for a meal in Philadelphia again. And I guess you could say Jalen Hurts kind of fits that bill too. So, it's a great day for Philadelphia. It's a horrible day for Kansas City and Kansas City fans. But we all know that Philadelphia fans are going to be insufferable the next couple of days. That's all I'm going to say there. They're going to be insufferable. And it's just going to be interesting to see what the reaction is going to be. And by the way, my colleague Ben Cruz, who is a Patriot fan, made a good point in our chat that we have privately. The GOAT conversation needs to take a break, take a rest. Tom Brady has 7, Mahomes has 3. So, can we calm down on the GOAT debate? Because the GOAT debate is not there currently. Okay? It just isn't. And actually, Ben is writing in our private chat right now. As a Patriots fan, I respect the Chiefs and I like Mahomes actually a lot as a quarterback, but the GOAT talk right now has been ended. My GOAT doesn't get blown the F out twice in a Super Bowl. So, I agree with you, Ben. I agree that the GOAT talk has to be stopped. I agree that Mahomes has more work to do. So, this was one of the worst Super Bowls ever. Okay? It just was. And there's no other way around it. And by the way, anyone who says that like Cooper DeJean was robbed of the MVP, can we just stop? We all know that Super Bowl MVPs are usually the quarterback. And Jalen Hurts had a good game. 17 for 22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, which was kind of a forced pick and probably shouldn't have thrown. And only took 2 sacks. And had 11 carries for 72 yards on top of it. So he had close to 300 all-purpose yards. Okay? So, guys, take it easy on Jalen Hurts. And that's coming from someone like myself who does not like Jalen Hurts. At all. So, we need to give it a rest. All our other teams, all of the other teams need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what they're going to do. So, basically, get back to work, except for the Eagles, and figure it out. Also, I got to give credit to Eagles GM Howie Roseman. In my opinion, is the best GM in the NFL. This guy pulled the right levers when needed to get the right people into the Eagles organization. Pushed all the right buttons and figured out what he needed to do. He knew when to lock and load, when to go make a trade here and there, when to figure out everything he needed to do to fill spots. Went out and got Saquon. Went out and made a few other moves. Brought in Mekhi Becton, which, by the way, was a Jet and just was a complete effing failure with the Jets, and now has won a Super Bowl ring with the Eagles. So, it was just an all-out dominant performance by the Eagles. And by the way, Travis Kelce was nowhere to be found. Let's just be real. Four receptions, 39 yards, and most of that was in the second half. I don't think he had any catches in the first half. None. So, maybe he needs to retire. That was just a terrible performance. Maybe he just goes off into the sunset with Taylor Swift. Maybe he proposes. I'm not saying he will, but you never know. But this game was brutal, man. I mean, I just couldn't. I almost was ready to turn it off. Because after the first half, I really didn't need to watch it. So, it is what it is. The NFL season is officially in the books, with the Philadelphia Eagles being your Super Bowl champions over the Chiefs, 40-22. They win Super Bowl 59, which they really needed in the worst way. Programming note, by the way, Football Forecast, the post-mortem episode, the final episode for Football Forecast for the NFL season, will air on Saturday at noon Eastern time. Please tune in. We will go over the full season as a whole. We will go over the Super Bowl 59. We'll go over the officiating in the game. We'll go over all the pop-em circumstance for the week that took place. And then we will put a nice little bow on the 2024-25 season. And Eventually, Anthony Ballister and Kanan Buckshot will take over and do our football forecast off-season show. They will take it over until we come back for the NFL draft in April. And then when the 2025-26 NFL season commences later on in the year, in September. So stay tuned for all this content. Please, if you can, please go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. It helps us grow. It helps us to bring more content. So everyone, if you can, that you're in the room right now, please go over to youtube.com/ETB Network and press the subscribe button. It really helps us to grow. And we can expand on more content, and it allows us to do more things. And please go check out our expanded platform, Substack, the ETB Network Substack, where we did a lot of content over there leading up to the Super Bowl. etbnetwork.substack.com. It is $5 a month, and you can unlock all of the content that we have behind that paywall. Trust me, $5 is cheap. I promise you. So that'll do it for this Super Bowl post-game live stream. I'm Nick Morgeson. If you want to follow me, it's right there on the bottom at @NMorgeson Radio. Follow the network across all social medias at ETB Network. And that'll do it for the 2024-25 NFL season. Like I said, we will see you on Saturday at noon for the postmortem episode for the football forecast. I'm Nick Morgeson. Have a good night, everybody.